This is JonBoyBeats, and I approve this message.
Boston Base is asking, what are your thoughts on bottlenecks? I think this would probably be, I mean, we kind of talked to
This is a good
nauseam about this.
transition.
Yeah, let's transition and talk about what we're actually how we're approaching this. Well, I think both of us are a little bit gun shy in the sense that we're not like going crazy right now, but I am interested to hear what you have to say about how you're approaching this. And I think for the case of argument, let's assume that the majority of the supply is out.
Yeah, so I think because I keep seeing this a lot on Twitter of like people who are saying like, oh, well, maybe the round one moments will end up being the bottleneck and stuff like that. And that could be true if not enough people catch on, but really there's no real reason to not turn your redemptions into a round one moment at the end of round one, right? So there's no real reason to stack a redemption instead of turning it into the moment, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about this a little bit last week. And yeah, obviously, like whichever team actually wins the finals, you still need 3 more redemptions. So, whatever.
Well, you need 4
That's
more because you have to have the redemption as well as the 4 moments. So you have to have 5 of each redemption, and then 4 of those redemptions gets turned into the actual moments that you're locking.
right. So let's give an example of, I don't know. Let's pick the Nuggets to get to the finals, right? So if you
Mhm.
are a believer that the Nuggets are going to win the finals, right, and you want to set yourself up now, you buy 5 Jokic's, you buy 5 Murray's, and you buy 5 wild cards, and you say this is all I'm going to need. After round one's over, you should turn in 4 of those Jokic's for 4 round 1 Jokic's, right? And you should just keep the 1 redemption for what you'll need for the finals one, but everything else should be turned into a round one moment because those round one moments are the exact same thing as the redemption for the next round, right?
Yeah.
So basically you get 4 shots at some serial lottery, right? Getting lucky with serial lottery, getting lucky with a jersey number, whatever. Then those 4 first round moments are now the same utility as a redemption, right? So there's 2 potential ways it could happen, right? So let's say the Nuggets are a heavy favorite, right? To keep going and to win round two, right? So maybe less people do round one moments because they're like, oh, I'm just going to save them, right? I'm going to save them for longer. Well, now your first round Nuggets moment is out of 900 or something. Let's put it that way, and you've got 4 moments out of 900, and then the Nuggets lose in round two, and all of a sudden everybody's like, oh shit, well I got to use all these redemptions. So now the second round moment is out of 4,100 or something, right? Like
Mhm.
so that's a win for your first round moment, right? Is your
Yeah.
first round moment has a much less mint count than the second round moment. So then the flip side is the other example where people start saying like, oh, the Nuggets are going to win, right? And they're going to keep winning. And let's say they win in round two, and people, now they want to turn in the round two moments because they think they're going to lose in round three or whatever it may be, right? But the I just think out of the gate, people are going to underestimate the round one, and those are going to be relatively low mint counts. And then
Yeah.
people are going to think they need to save them for later, and then all of a sudden the other rounds are going to be, a higher mint if there's some upsets or if people don't play the cards right or whatever. And so that is why I would say every redemption that you have, besides if you think you're going to need it for the Champions Path challenge, should be turned into round one moment. Then it should be turned into a round two moment. Then it should be, turning around three, whatever.
So so the one thing I want to say first is isn't the kind of the beauty of this whole like the game theory and stuff behind it is that pretty much no matter how people like play this game, the like final champion moment, which is will be the bottleneck of the set, because since you need 5 redemption moments, like theoretically, like the max that could be is 1,000, and there's no way it gets even close to that. So I think that's one thing I really like about that's one thing I really like about the challenge is one, there's not going to be some weird round one moment that'll be the bottleneck, unless for some reason just no one turns in their like Trey Young redemption moments or something like that.
I would say that round one moments, I don't know. I think there's a potential that a round one moment could
Could be
be
a
a
weird
bottleneck,
bottleneck. Yeah.
more than like a round 3 moment or something. Like I would put
Yeah,
money
I
on a
agree
round
with that.
1 over like a round 3 or something, just
Mhm.
because I'm not sure people will really understand how it works in round 1, and there could be kind of some weird stuff. Okay, let's talk about Trae Young. That's a good example. So this Trae Young redemption that you have can do everything that a normal Trae Young moment can do on Top Shot, right? You can use
Yeah.
it in a flash challenge. You can burn it. You can use it for player leaderboards, team leaderboards. You know, it has TSS. You can buy it and sell it, whatever. It just doesn't have a video associated with it, right?
Yeah.
If Trae Young doesn't do anything too crazy in round 1 or whatever, right? And he's got a 3-pointer video, you know, now associated with his moment, and people aren't super juiced for it or whatever, technically, if all things being equal, besides one has a video, one doesn't, those Trae Young should have the same mint count, right? 2,500 should be redeemed. 2,500 should be, you know, unredeemed because, you know, all things considered, you probably want a lower mint count of something, right?
Yeah.
You know, typically speaking, right? That's how you're able to finally, you know, sometimes find some value. Now, maybe that's not necessarily the case, but I don't think that Trae Young, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm going to be surprised, but I would assume that the Trae Young mint count is closer to 2,500 than it is to 5,000, right?
Yeah.
Because people are going to be like, okay, well, this redemption's kind of the same shit, and I don't really care about that video exactly, so I might as well take a shot at having a lower mint count, a lower circulating count here. And so
Yeah.
when you kind of go through that example, well, that's kind of how each round should be as well, right? So like, and this will be really interesting to see when the pricing starts, right? So let's, you know, again, go back to the Nuggets, right? So the Nuggets redemption window opens. People submit the Nuggets, right? Let's say there's 1,200 Nuggets, right? That means there's 1,200 less Nuggets that are in the redemptions, right? So
Mhm.
technically, probably the price of the redemptions maybe goes up a little bit, and then the price of the Nuggets round 1 moment kind of comes out, and it's like out of 1,200, but it's a round 1 moment. You think they're going to the finals, so maybe a Jokic redemption after the round 1 window is up to like $16 or $17, right? Because people just turn in a bunch to get to round 1. But
Yeah.
then the round 1 Jokic comes out and it's $8. Well, the redemption and the Jokic are the exact same utility for that next round, right? So
Correct.
the pricing should be more level, right? And I'm not saying the round 1 will come up to the redemption or the redemption will come down or whatever, but all things considered, when you go into round 2 and the round 2 window opens and somebody says, "Hey, I really want that round 2 Jokic," they're going to either go buy a redemption and turn it in, or they're going to buy a round 1 and turn it in. So both of those prices should equal out over time, and it won't be like that right out of the gate, right? So that's
Yeah.
going to be an opportunity for people to take, you know, take some spots with some of the inequality that's going to happen with the market. Is people I don't think really will realize that hey, now this round 1 moment is really the same as the redemption for now, right? And then you kind of keep going through like the iterations of it. And it's like, okay, well, after round 2's over, then yes, the round 1 guys lose value quite a bit. But what if the round 1, what if it is 1,200 and then you see that 400 people turned in a round 1 moment to get to a round 2? Well, now all of a sudden your round 1 is circulating out 800, and like there's still X amount of redemptions left. The round 2's over 800. Then you're like, oh shit, this Jokic, like this one now might be kind of the bottleneck for the Champions Path
Mhm.
challenge later on, right? Because all of a sudden this guy's out of 800 and there's still, 3,000 redemptions left, and 1,200 are in round 2 now. And then you kind of start playing that math like, okay, well, maybe this round 1 isn't too bad of a deal. I'll kind of hold on to it because it's got some potential to be the bottleneck later. And so that's the fun part, and that's where it's going to be important to kind of keep track of that stuff. You're going to want to keep track of and we'll have some tools for this, but you're going to want to keep track of where the circulation is at all the different levels, and then where the price points are too, right? Because you're going to be able to kind of thread a needle and find some of those inequalities, and be able to kind of capitalize there. And then the bummer part is that, and this is just literally gambling in a nutshell, right? Is like people are going to get really like invested in this stuff, right? And they're going to like try to find this and kind of really be all in on a team or a couple teams or whatever. And then like as soon as the Nuggets lose, you're like 800 mid count first round Jokic
Worthless.
doesn't really matter anymore, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not worth this. 800 still decent, but you know, it's not going to be the bottleneck anymore because there's not going to be a challenge needed for it, and so then it loses a bunch of money. So that's going to be, the gambling side of things, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It should be pretty fun if we can get some freaking clarity on the supply and just get that stuff behind us.
Yeah, yeah, and so there's two things I wanna point out. One, I think it'll be interesting if there's a situation where the redemption of a moment is the bottleneck for the challenge. Like, people are turning them in and maybe, like, are getting a little too aggressive or getting a little too excited. Like, maybe let's say the Nuggets are in the Western Conference Finals or even the finals. Let's say the Nuggets win the finals and the finals moment is sick. Like, it's this amazing Jokic moment that everyone wants. And so people overmint that moment with redemptions and round 3 moments.
Yeah.
Suddenly, in order to get that championship, like, real, like the final master challenge, the redemption might actually be the bottleneck. Like, it might make a full circle because like, if we look at the Curry championship moment from last year and the Giannis championship moment, in my opinion, those are the
Yeah.
two of the best moments,
Yeah.
and they're some of the more expensive moments in that set, even though the circulation may not reflect it because people want the cool stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where things like to your point, like, once the circulation or once a supply issue is like figured out, I think this is going to be the most fun that we've had in Top Shot
Yeah.
for a long time. Like, I think this is so well constructed by Top Shot because it's not going to be some random like
Yeah.
like Bruce Brown or some random like DeAndre Hunter moment that's going to be the bottleneck and kind of take the air out of the set. Like, you are focused on the champion, like the team that's
Yeah.
going to win
Yeah.
it all.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point for sure. And maybe to tie a bow on that of your point and my point together is like more than likely if it's like one of the call it, I don't know, two or three favorites, like I don't even know who you would say is the freaking favorite in the West right now. I mean, I'm sure the sports books probably say Nuggets or Suns still.
yeah,
But
I would guess.
I mean, I don't know. The West seems pretty wide open. And then the East, you've got Bucks and Bucks and
Celtics.
Celtics, right? So if you just go by like the prices right now, let's say it's one of those four teams, Bucks, Celtics, Nuggets, Suns. I think the odds of earlier, maybe like a first round moment being the bottleneck are a little bit higher because for those four teams, people are probably going to be of their mindset, I want to hold my redemptions because I think they're going to keep going, right? And then we
Yeah.
could get some of that action like a first round moment it becomes it. But then on the flip side, and I'll just pick the Kings here because if they beat the Warriors, they'll be a dog in every series they go into probably. People are gonna just, at every round that they win, they're probably gonna like over redeem for them, right? So they're probably
Mm,
gonna like if they beat the Warriors and then they face the Grizzlies or the Lakers, the Kings are probably gonna be an underdog. And so
yeah,
and
they
people
definitely
won't
will be.
think that they're gonna beat the Lakers or the Grizzlies. So then they're just gonna be like, okay, I'll mint this first round moment. There's some cool shit that went on in that series and I know they're going to fizzle out next round. And the Kings win again, then we could get to that point where oh shit, the Kings are in the finals and they only have 600 redemptions left or whatever, right? And so at that point, people are doing stuff with the third round moment or something, and then the redemption is kind of the pinch point for that final challenge if they were to win it all. So Boston Bay said if you have 15 Jason Tatum redemptions hypothetically, what would you
Hypothetically.
do with them? I mean, by now you're probably pretty all in on the Celtics. Obviously stacking 15 of them. They're obviously going to sweep, so I feel like your Jason Tatum bags are pretty well insulated there. He's at $22. He's fallen off a little bit over the last few days. I think he was up at 26, 27. Now he's down to 22. He's got 2,500 that are still in pack. So if they dump out, half of the supply, it's going to take a little bit of a hit. But I think I would at this point. I mean, you're already committed. I would just probably just hold on to them and hope that Top Shot doesn't screw you too much with a supply dump, and then just kind of play the game that we're talking about. But like we talked about earlier, I don't think there's a whole lot of reason to not turn those Jason Tatum redemptions into first round moments because then you're just basically giving yourself another option. to like continue kind of playing that like flip it game, which you could always do with redemptions. But then you get another round of serial, you get 14 shots at serial luck and stuff like that.
That's a good
With the
point too.
Tatum first round moment. So I mean, people kind of care about that stuff. So that's what I would do. I mean, maybe in your case, 15 is like quite a bit more than you would actually ever need. So I don't know, maybe turn 8 of them into first round moments. Maybe look to kind of play a sell game if the redemption spikes at some point for some reason because things get out of whack, and you can sell some redemptions for a profit, and then keep one for when they win the finals.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, and that what you're saying kind of lines up with what I was gonna say. I was gonna say turn 10 into round one moments and keep 5 because I think it gives you enough juice to like you can even do 2 every cycle. So you have 2 round one. Like let's say that Boston
Yeah.
wins it all, you got 2 of everything. So you can even sell as people are trying to buy in to complete the challenge. You can sell at any point where those whichever one becomes the bottleneck or the most expensive that people are buying in order to complete that challenge. Let's say the finals moment is like just super sick and you want a couple of those, you have a couple extra redemptions to just get some of those for personal. Or if that whole full circle thing happens and the redemption becomes the bottleneck, now you got 4 extra redemptions that you can sell for a fat profit.
Like his comment here saying, I'm debating how many unredeemed ones to hold back for the champion real market boost. Like honestly, the Celtics are probably one of the main contenders, I would say, where their redemption may not be the one that gets the squeeze during that final challenge, right? And
Yeah.
again, this is like taking into kind of a lot of different assumptions about how quickly people are going to catch on to things, and maybe things level out in round 3 before the final start or whatever. But if people think the Celtics are going into the finals as the favorite, the initial reaction is hold on to redemptions, don't mint this round 3 moment because I want to get that finals moment or something, right? And so then in that case, like maybe all of a sudden you're going in with like there's 1200 redemptions going into the finals, and the round 3 was only minted to 800 or something, right? And so then all of a sudden the round 3 moment is going to be the one that's the bottleneck or whatever. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of the interesting part, and, like, that's where these things going off at different times is really gonna kinda screw or really gonna take people to be kind of engaged a little bit is because like, okay, let me keep track of, like, what just happened with the Celtics redemption. Let me compare that to, like, the Bucks, whatever, all that shit, and, like, okay, Bucks are looking like a little bit maybe that's a good spot to buy some Bucks. Maybe I'm gonna buy some Celtics round 2 because those came in under minted, stuff like that. Really, what should happen is every round, like, if this was a perfect world, every round, the number of redemptions and the number of moments in that round would equal each other, right? So, like,
Correct.
the first round, it'd be like 2,500, 2,500, right? And then the second round, it'd be like, total combined, it'd be like 2,000, 2,000, or I don't know. Now I'm losing track of whatever 5,000 is divided by 3. And then the next round, it would be everything would be about 5,000 divided by 4. And in the finals, everything would be 5,000 divided by, 5, 1,000, right? But we know that's not going to happen, right? And so in the case I just brought up with Boston base, like, I don't know, whatever. Let's say they have 1,800 redemptions going in to the round 3 window, right? And people swing some round 2s over, they start redeeming some redemptions, and there's, 6 hours left in the counter, and there's still 1,200 redemptions, and there's only 600 round 3 moments. Well, then the play is to, like, if you don't want to have redemptions at that point, you would rather have round 3 moments, right? So technically a play would be to like high redemptions and just keep redeeming for round 3, right? And then at a point when the round 3 gets equal to or level with the redemptions, well then you want to have the redemptions again, right? So it's going to be this thing where there's going to be some trailing reactions that happen, and there's going to be some kind of crazy market movement that happens. And so I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea to stock up on some of these teams that you think are going to go far. But obviously, we got to get over the supply hurdle a little bit before I would be comfortable doing it. But if you got 15, fire away, baby.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I plan to build a couple stacks, but to your point, I'm waiting until we get some information about the unsold packs and supply is still continuing to leak out on top of that. Quick question for you, and then I think we can tie a bow on this. I have one little. Let's say the Boston Celtics make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and they lose. What would you do in the case that you have, let's say, even just like a stack of like 4 redemption moments for a Tatum, and they lose in the Eastern Conference Finals? How do you approach that situation?
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be kind of mint count based, right? And so I don't think the reaction to that is much different than the example we brought up from Trey Young, right? Where let's
Mhm.
say going into the round 3 window opening, there's 2,000 Tatum's redemptions available, right? And probably the round 2 moment is under minted, right? Is less than that. So there's not a whole lot of incentive for the round 2 guys to turn it into round 3. So the round 2 is probably going to stay what it is, and then the redemption moments are going to kind of turn over into, the round 3. That's most of the stock's going to come from redemption, right? Because the round 2 guys are going to be like, "Hey, my Tatum's out of 1,200. Why would I turn it into one that might be out of 2,000 now that they lost, right?" And
Yeah.
so they're going to hold on to it, and then the redemptions are going to start going. But then you kind of get to the same question: is like, do people care about these low circulation redemptions, right? Like, will 2,000 people or 1,800 people turn in and just say, "I'll just take my round 3 Tatum and be done with it," right? And so then you've got like a 1,000 round 1, you've got a 1,200 round 2, an 1,800 round 3, and then a 200 redemption or something, right? Is that going to happen? Or at some point, are people going to be like, "Wait a minute, I think I'd rather just hold on to this redemption that's now out of 400 or something instead of getting myself a 1,600 Tatum or whatever," right? Like, so like that kind of, I think that kind of conversation is what's going to happen. It'll be interesting to see if people care about it. Because yeah, like, I mean, they've pretty explicitly said like, we're not going to do we're not going to do a challenge where it says, "Hey, you need X amount of redemptions in your collection to get something else," right? They're not going to like specifically call for redemptions ever to be used, but somebody said earlier 200 people already own the full redemption set, right? So people obviously think it's collectible. And then on top of that, like, people the they aren't, well, they're not going to be specifically called for in challenges. They are going to be something that can be used, right? So I mean, shit, having a 400 out of 400 circulating question mark of Tatum may appeal you to more than having a 1,600 playoff moment that probably kind of gets lost in the sauce if they lose in round 3.
And I mean, personally, I'm not trying to collect the redemption set, but I do think like it just adds another layer to this very like exciting like situation where like the game theory can be like even like no matter like if you have a redemption moment, like you still have to make a decision even if that team loses type of deal,
Right.
which
Yeah.
I think is great. Like maybe it like we all think that it'll lose value for, like if like for example if the Nuggets get upset, there are probably a lot of people that are just trying to sell out instead of keep that, but it still forces you to make a decision as opposed to
Right.
previous iterations we've had of NBA Top Shot with the playoffs. So I think it's pretty cool.